Welcome back. This is Christian Life Church Online. This is part 2 to a 2-part series on when leaders fail. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit shorter, but I'm going to be talking about narcissism in leaders and when narcissistic leaders fail. At the end of this talk, I'm going to be wrapping up the conclusion of part 1 and part 2 with some practical tips on how we deal with this from a leadership perspective, from a board perspective, and from a follower perspective. If you've been following a leader that's fallen, we're going to just wrap it all up there. You know, it's hurtful when a leader falls, and it can be hurtful to us when we have been abused by a leader, and unfortunately it happens all too often. So I hope that talk number 2 is helpful to you. Narcissism is a hot topic in the church today. There is an increased awareness of the presence of narcissistic leaders. Narcissists create a lot of damage and destruction in relationships, and they just create havoc everywhere they go. When you have narcissists in positions of leadership and authority, the damage that they can create can be very widespread. In the case of a narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, some refer to it as, the individual may require therapy and some deep spiritual work to break patterns, oftentimes that may go back to their childhood, patterns that will reassert themselves. See, narcissism isn't something that someone just quits. It's not a matter of, well, that was narcissistic of me, I'm a narcissist, I'm not going to be that anymore. It's not that easy. Well, what are some narcissistic traits that we should watch for in our leadership? Well, there is a high sense of self-importance, a real, admiration of oneself, and I'm important. Another one is a sense that they really deserve privileges. Here's another one. They expect to be seen as superior to other leaders, to other people, maybe to their followers. They're just superior. Another characteristic of narcissism in leadership is they make success seem bigger than it really is. I'm really something. Look at me. Another one is a preoccupation with fantasies of power, brilliance, and beauty. Another one is they believe they're superior. They actually believe that they're better than others. And they look down on other people. Another aspect, characteristic of narcissism in leadership is just the ease by which they would take advantage of people or a situation. And another one is a lack of empathy. They just don't feel bad for you. And they don't really feel bad for anything they've done. And arrogance, conceit, insisting on having the best, those are narcissistic characteristics that we should watch for. And so if you're working with a narcissistic leader, here's some of the things, some of the dark sides of things that you may experience. You may find that they're extremely impatient. They don't do well with resistance, with other people's opinions. It's got to line up with what they're thinking. You really need to be in agreement with them, and they don't have a lot of patience for opposition. Another one is they'll react with rage and contempt. So if something doesn't go their way, you will experience what is called narcissistic rage, and they'll treat you with contempt, and wow, watch out. It can be damaging. Another one is they'll be quick to maybe belittle other people. A narcissist will oftentimes have real difficulty managing their emotions. A narcissist may be extremely stubborn. They don't care what you want. They want what they want. And if you ask them for something and they don't want to give it to you, they won't. And if you ask again, they'll push back even further. They're stubborn. And that can be a sign of a narcissistic leader. And they can be very uncaring as well. They just don't care what you think. They don't care what you feel. It doesn't matter because you don't matter. Another aspect of narcissism in leadership is their ability to gaslight you. Now, what that means is, when you confront them with something, they'll turn the blame back on you. And you walk away from the confrontation like, am I crazy? What just happened there? I was talking to them about something they did, but it's my fault? That's gaslighting. And that is something that we need to watch for in leadership. Unfortunately, narcissism in all kinds of forms is rearing its ugly head in our culture. Our culture seems to feed narcissism, and I think really with the dawn of the age of social media, where we are clicking and liking things or putting things out there that we want people to like, that feeds narcissism. It's kind of, we're living in a look at me, pay attention to me, look at the great life I'm leading. That feeds narcissism. And my suspicion is that our current time of social media, being on social media, has really served to feed narcissism. There is a presence of narcissism in all realms of leadership today. Now, I'm not saying that every leader is a narcissist. I'm not saying that at all. But so often, there is an element of narcissism that is seen, I hear with CEOs, presidents of companies, politicians. There are narcissistic traits that cause them to be successful, to be charming, to be appealing, to be all of these things. But then there's this dark side of narcissism that we need to watch for. And hey, it can happen in the church too. The church is not immune to narcissistic leadership. So the call today is for us as leaders, if you're listening to me and you're a leader, to lead and live with integrity. It is to deal with hidden faults and sin, to find ourselves living in accountable relationships. The call for boards and directors and denominations is to hold leaders to a high biblical standard, to take seriously accusations, insinuations, and suggestions of wrong behavior. And the call for each of us, as we all follow leaders, is to be discerning, is to know the scriptures and to know how to apply it, and to weigh carefully what we hear, what we listen to, what is taught, and to keep our eyes on Christ, to focus on the gospel, to keep our eyes on the cross. And don't base your relationship or your faith in Jesus on a person. That's a big mistake. Many years ago, when I was leaving my first church, I was just a young guy, and we had built a new building, and I was the first pastor of some of these brand new Christians. And I'd given my resignation this one particular Sunday, and this young Christian mom says to her husband, "What are we going to do without Pastor Jim? What are we going to do without him?" And her husband, who was a young Christian, said, "Well, Pastor Jim's leaving, but Jesus isn't." And I thought, what a great perspective, what a mature perspective. I was just a guy. I was just a guy that was doing a ministry, was doing a job, and he knew that Christ was not leaving them, that Christ was the head of the church. And man may leave, man may move on, man can fail, but Jesus will never fail. Well, thank you for tuning in. These have been some topics, leaders that fail, leadership that falls. They've been issues that have been weighing on my heart for quite some time now. For a number of years during my ministry, I've watched leaders come and go, rise and fall, and it never gets easier to watch. It seems it's becoming more frequent. I hope that these talks have helped you. And if you are a leader that has fallen and you need to talk to somebody, I want you to know that we are a compassionate church. We'd love to talk to you. If you need ministry, if you need to be lifted up, we want to be here for you. If you're a person who has been hurt by a leader who's fallen and are in need of help or counsel, why don't you get in touch with us? We'd love to steer you in the right direction for resources. And if you are a board, a leadership team, and you need somebody to talk to get some guidance, we're here for you. We've got lots of experience, some good, wise resources and counsel that we can offer to you. clcwinnipeg.ca is how you can reach us. Shoot me an email, jim@clcwinnipeg.ca. We'd love to talk to you. I hope you've enjoyed these talks. I'm going to be doing more kind of along these lines, and hopefully you'll benefit from it. So thanks for tuning in. God bless you, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.